You've heard of Bank of America, Reliance, Star TV Network, Viacom 18, then Meta.
My philosophy is that good people love to do good work, but good people also work for good money.
Where can people get more salaries?
In India, I would say that the salaries are lower, and there are two reasons for it. I was kind of involved in also seeing that the iTunes store in Apple store in India launched. I was involved in bidding for IPL. It's like we put in a $600 million bid.
You were just telling me that Nas Daily created his Facebook account on your phone.
In my role, I worked with a lot of creators, and including Nas.
Which country is the best place to be for a young person right now?
Number one thing, if you are building something, or if you're an entrepreneur, I can tell you the number one thing is
Welcome Saurabh, how are you?
I'm great. Hi Sanskar, nice to meet you.
Perfect, finally. Saurabh, you were just telling me that Nas Daily created his Facebook account on your phone. What's that story?
Yeah, I mean, look, as you know, I worked in Meta for a very long time, and my role was to work with creators. And at the time, Facebook was promoting a lot of creators, and video especially was becoming mainstream. And so, in my role, I worked with a lot of creators, and including Nas. And one of the things is that he was definitely wanting to scale up a lot, and we kind of worked with him, we helped him. It was a nice partnership, and so yeah.
Before we go deeper into today's conversation, today's podcast, I would like you to tell the audience about who you are and what your career has been like so far.
Yeah, I would say I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and what I'm doing today. And I mean, it's been a great career journey. I mean, it's been more than 2 decades working in smaller companies, bigger companies, doing my own. And yeah, I mean, generally thinking of how do you impact the world positively.
Let's pause for a minute. You and I both know life can throw unexpected financial needs your way, whether it's an emergency, a wedding, or a big expense you are planning. With a Bajaj Finance personal loan, you can get up to 55 lakh rupees without any collateral. You will have flexible repayment options with tenure of up to 96 months, and you can get approval in just 5 minutes with dispersal within 24 to 48 hours. They offer flexible EMI options, and there are absolutely no hidden charges. To be eligible, you need a minimum CIBIL score of 685 plus, and it's perfectly suited for salaried individuals aged 21 to 80 working in MNCs, public or private companies. The entire process is 100% digital. Just verify your phone number, fill in your details, and upload your documents. If you're eligible, the money will be in your account within 24 to 48 hours. It's that simple. No paperwork, no hassle, no stress. If you want to apply, click the link in the description to make your financial needs stress-free.
You've heard of Bank of America, Reliance, Star TV Network, Viacom 18, then Meta. So you've worked at so many wonderful places. What was your career growth in terms of salaries?
That's an interesting question. If you go back in time, what happens is that initially you obviously start low, and then you start to gain a lot of experience, and then you start to grow. And if you put in the right effort, both in terms of time, intellect, and honesty in your work, then you start to keep growing. So without going into too much into salary, but I personally think I was fortunate. I had a good run. I was kind of going drastically at some points in time, and to have a good kind of settled life. And I think the more important thing is if you honestly put hard work into things, you will definitely grow and make things happen.
But why did you switch jobs so much?
It was, I think, early part of my career was really finding what I like to do. So, if you know my background, I'm a chartered accountant by profession, worked in Bank of America, worked in a lot financial field, investment banking. After a point, I was kind of having that whole dilemma of, hey, I'm not kind of enjoying what I'm doing. I'm kind of done with Excel sheets, I would say. And so at that point, I had to find something different and meaningful. And the media industry was very, very like interesting because it impacted lives. If you think of today, anything, our society is all about what media is a reflection of, right? So we always used to say films is a reflection of what the society is. Today, if you think of all across all medias, it's nothing but a reflection of society, and so it's very powerful to impact in a positive way. And so I kind of found my footing there, and then being like some sort of like technology nerd, or someone who really loves new technologies. I always wanted to be at the curve where new technologies were coming in. So in starting in the media industry, there was kind of initially radio, then TV. 20 years back, there was a whole television revolution. Then there was like platforms like DTH and those kind of internet services through IP, and all of that came in. So I was always wanting to be at the forefront of, and so I changed my career in that. And then internet happened, which was just a turning moment for me. And if you think of like last 2 or 3 roles have all been very focused on internet, which is like almost 15 years of my career. And both in Viacom, where it's kind of fully digital, and then in Meta, and then in my current role. And there also in our current company, we use blockchain a lot, and now we're moving to AI. So kind of getting on the front of technology curves is what actually I love to do.
Also, is it a good practice to switch jobs if people want to maximize their salaries and earning potential?
So I won't say that like salaries is what should be the trigger for changing jobs. I would say that things like if you are passionate about something, and if you're getting to do that, then don't switch. If you're not getting to do that, and if you want to really like do something which you think you will really love to do, then switch it. And so in my case, I distinctly remember that I think 2 times in my career I actually took a salary hit to change my jobs, to be able to do what I really wanted to do. And if coming from say a CA background and a finance background, and then doing your MBA in finance, it's really hard to like get into say a technology space. Why would anyone kind of hire you? And so at those moments you're like, okay, I want to do this. I can see like myself like really enjoying, and so maybe like take a little bit of like hit in financially, but then it more than recovers later on, because if you're passionate, you will do a really amazing job. And so I would say that think of what you like, but at the same time, I mean, salary is important. I would not like come to this conclusion that just do whatever you like, and don't kind of worry about financial aspects. My like philosophy is that good people love to do good work, but good people also work for good money. And so in most companies, if you think of, especially like the US tech companies, they did really well because they not only attracted good people, but they also paid them very, very handsomely, whether it be in dollar terms, salary, or in even stocks. And so that's being financially stable is really important, and should not be compromised at all.
Just so that we cover this topic completely, where can people get more salaries, in India or in abroad?
It's a good question. I mean, India, especially in the tech sector, things have been growing quite fast, and so we are seeing that salaries are catching up. But having worked at various places, both in India, then in Singapore, smaller stints in kind of Dubai, and now I live between UK and US. I do feel that in India, I would say that the salaries are lower as compared to if I compare in other places. And there are 2 reasons for it. Obviously, that one is in some of the places just the conversion to Indian rupees, just like it just goes the dollar goes much more longer than the rupee because of the conversion rate. And the second is, and it becomes stronger and stronger. And then the second thing is that I think in India, what I've seen is that the stock part of the compensation wasn't always like great for a long time, especially in the tech sector. And even today, a lot of younger engineers, middle engineers, they focus on a certain base and not so much on the stock aspect of it or the equity aspect of it, which traditionally, if you think of in other countries, especially in the US, has been very, very like well regarded by both employers and employees, in the sense that employers want to give more stock options. Typical founders in the US want to give their employees more stock options, and employees also want to take the risk. And it's a risk reward scenario, but in India, I think that's kind of getting much and much better over the last decade. But if I look at like a past, I mean, it's not that great.
So you have worked at Meta for 8 years. What have you learned about the creator space there?
Yeah, I mean, look, the my journey, literally career journey, has been parallel to the whole growth of the creator economy, right? And so a lot of people are unaware, but when I was working in India in Viacom, we were literally the first ones to sign a deal with YouTube for putting up content on YouTube. And at that time, whether it be Colors, whether it be MTV, a lot of like Viacom channels were then distributed via YouTube in terms of video clips. And it was a sweet deal, and like we got paid for it. And this I'm talking about almost a decade and a half back, when it was just starting off. And then I was involved in that, and then I was kind of involved in also seeing that the iTunes store in Apple Store in India launched, and first time like a movie literally was uploaded there, and then someone could watch the movie on the phone. And now OTT is becoming so popular. And then eventually, along with all the media content, then started the whole creator kind of journey with YouTube. And after that, we know the journey of TikTok. And so I was in Meta at that time, and our focus really was to grow content in every sense. So whether it be media content, whether it be sports content, I was involved in like bidding for IPL. It's like we put in a $600 million bid, which kind of we didn't get the rights about 6-7 years back, and then the whole creator piece, and then news. And on the creator side, it was very interesting because obviously, we started off with a little bit long form content. So in those days, creators were encouraged to put in more longer clips, 3 minutes, 4 minutes plus, or even 10 minutes plus. And then we called it watch that time. And then came reels, which is like much more shorter, which was like a few seconds to a minute. And so having seen that whole journey over the last 1.5 decades, all the way working with creators both in India, in Asia, in my role, it's pretty fascinating how that industry has grown, and the whole curves, right? So you start with a little bit kind of long form, then now you like literally reels and YouTube shorts, and then there's a whole wave of these podcasts which are more now longer, which is like which across the world, like Joe Rogan and others are already there. But in India, we never saw that okay, someone would listen to a 45 minute or 1 hour kind of podcast. And so it's been fascinating to work with creators, see that journey, and especially the whole monetization piece, because at some point there was only YouTube monetization, and then the creators would like earn a little bit from brands. But now then, Facebook started monetization, Instagram started, TikTok started. So there was a wave, and then again now there is kind of a big, I would say like a big push from LinkedIn to really grow videos. And so if you were a new creator and you knew that the algorithm is really hard to break, both for Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, and TikTok is not in India, and if your content really resonates with, I would say, professional community, I would think that you would start straight away from LinkedIn. So if I were to do this podcast and start, Sanskar, I would literally start with LinkedIn 100%, and then like grow my audience there, because end of the day, you have to do what the algorithm is supporting and the platforms are supporting, and you have to be on the right side where the wind is blowing. And so you get real good tailwinds. You start like LinkedIn, get your brand growing, get your views going. There are a lot of marketers there who are already watching, and then you slowly grow your audience at other places.
Interesting. Before we go deeper into algorithms, what were you bidding at the IPL for?
Yeah, so a decade back we had this notion that live would be really, really interesting, and so that time, if you remember, all the platforms were promoting live or live events, live event streaming, etc., in a very big way. And so we had this notion in Meta that, hey, if we were to get rights for some live events, then it could be very, very interesting. And there's nothing more bigger than sports in terms of live, and there's nothing bigger than cricket when it comes to sports in India. And so there was this thought process which I had, which is like, okay, what if we were to stream IPL on Facebook? That would be very interesting. And so when the bid came up, so we actually bid for the digital rights for live IPL there. And obviously, Star had the whole composite bid, including the TV, digital plus international, which was much more than what we bid. But that was like the bid we put in, and we didn't get it, even though we were the highest bidder on the digital side. But it would have been very, very interesting, because the whole idea was that we could have live sports on Facebook. And then that actually continued across other platforms. So if you think of Amazon Prime, it does a lot of EPL or football and other stuff. It does stream, and so that brings a lot of audiences. And eventually, then I feel like even Hotstar literally grew on the back of IPL or cricket, which is like the same thing which we were trying to do. And then obviously TV and digital platforms coexist in terms of live sports.
So if you were the highest bidder, why did the deal fall through?
Yeah, because there was a clause in the contract that, or in the bidding, that there would be individual rights, which is TV, digital, and international, but then there would be one composite bid as well, which is like one company could put everything. And so Star definitely had TV, they had digital, Hotstar, and they had international channels with Sky, and so they put a composite bid, and then we only had digital, Facebook, and Sony only had TV. And so both combined together, it would not add up to what Star had bid composite. So while our digital bid was much more higher than any other, and at that point, I remember that first time even Geo bid, and there were like many other Times of India bid, and obviously Star bid, Sony bid on their own. So we all bid. Meta's digital bid was the highest at 600 million. Those numbers are on the internet. But because of that composite clause of bidding for all rights together, Star kind of got it. So
Let's come to algorithms. You have told me multiple times, like before this podcast and even now, that Sanskar start posting videos on LinkedIn. You were telling me about a case study wherein you work with creators both on Instagram and Facebook, and some clips were working on Instagram, some on Facebook. You ask them to chop the styles, and then they worked on both the platforms. What's your thought on algorithms, and how can creators optimize for algorithms?
Yeah, look, the thing is that every platform is very different. So, we have this tendency to say that, like all of these are like social platforms, but I think YouTube has very different use case, where a lot of time you go and search for things. So it's a repository of, all the videos in the world ever. So if you ever thought of something, you go and search. While Facebook was, initially a friend network, and then it kind of moved into an interest graph, but it literally not like a pull service, because you never go and search in Facebook. You were like always scrolling the feed. So it's a very different experience, pull versus push. And then there was Instagram, where you actually never had any individual connection, but there was kind of the followers, so you were following like celebrities. So that again is very different platform. And oftentimes you were asked like why in Meta you had Facebook, then what was the value of Instagram? But then both are very different kind of platforms. And then there's TikTok, which came in and which literally made short form video very, very popular. And that's another kind of way to do videos, especially vertical videos, etc., in shorter form. And then now there is LinkedIn, which is a very professional network of people who are professionals, and so network of people who are professionals. So I personally feel that we have this tendency of thinking that okay, if we are a video creator or if we create some videos, it will kind of go across in exactly the same way.
Right.
But if I were, and especially with my journey of working with some of the biggest creators in the world, I have worked with creators who have 50 million plus fans, and they didn't have that at that time, but they grew because they have been very, very like sophisticated and smart about tailoring their content for all of the different platforms. So you never can like shoot for one platform and shoot once and then say okay, this is going to go across. It has to like tailor to how each of the platforms behave and the audience there, right? And so that's what my point was, that LinkedIn is a very different ball game than say a YouTube or a Facebook and Insta and a TikTok and then Snap. And so if you were a creator, you have to like understand really at that point of time what the platform is doing. For example, I have kind of heard that if you are a creator, Snap kind of expects you to put so many video clips so many times a day, and there are a lot of like unsaid rules, but you have to be smart about like figuring that out. I mean, in some platforms that how important thumbnails are, how important like titles are. In some platforms that like really short clips, vertical videos really popular. And so unless you must that, you're not going to be so successful very quickly, and that's like really, really a science, I would say, which you have to like keep on studying. And the last thing I would say is that even in Facebook, we had this journey where I mentioned to you, I work with Nas and many others. We had this journey where we were promoting a lot of like, or Facebook was promoting a lot of long form videos. And then when TikTok came in, and there was kind of the whole consumers were moving to short form, and then the algorithm started like really pushing short form videos. And so then the live aspect, we spoke about the sports, really didn't kind of, you don't see any live video now. And at that point, at one point when live was the focus, the algorithm was pushing live, and then at one point like long form and then short form. And so creators like Nas actually went through the journey where when they were creating like these long form videos, they were actually like suddenly seeing drop in traffic or viewership, even if they had much more bigger fan base, because just the algorithm has moved to much more shorter. And when I say algorithm, actually we have to understand, Sanskar, one thing is that it's literally the platforms are mimicking what the consumers want. So they are like changing or tweaking their algorithm based on what consumer at that point is wanting. And so if today's society wants like shorter form video, and the attention span is so lesser, and there's a certain kind of interest graph, then obviously the platforms are catering to that and trying to like move to that. And so it's very like it's a science, and at the moment you have to continuously study what is going on. And I would think that LinkedIn right now is really wanting creators to come in, really wanting videos to kind of a lot of videos to kind of come in on the platform. And so it's an amazing time to actually create videos for LinkedIn.
So how can I study algorithms?
Yeah, I mean, there's no like rocket science, right? Sorry, there's no silver bullet, but it's also not rocket science in some way. I mean, I would think that someone has to like just continuously see the trends and try out things and see how it works for you. And you will soon it's almost like alpha beta test, is that you keep like kind of putting out stuff and see how it reacts, and you will get your foot. But again, I mean, just studying trends, seeing, talking to other creators, and also like trying out yourself is the only way to do it. I wouldn't say that there is any silver bullet here, but at the same time, I mean, I definitely think it's not rocket science. It's not like, that only a few geniuses can kind of understand what's going on. I mean, even if you just like, keep read the news of, okay, what like, Facebook is saying, what YouTube is saying, and they continuously like, their executives go and speak on stage, you will soon realize, what they are focusing on. And so that narrative is very clear, is that like, when I was in Meta for 8 years, I mean, initially we used to like talk about live, and so every event you will see every executive talking about live, so you know that, okay, there's something going on. Then you say like long form, and then now it's short form, and so it's like that.
Which country is the best place to be for a young person right now?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. It really depends on your priorities, right? And so if you really like, huge hustle bustle and like, a lot of like chaos, I would say in some positive way, I think India is obviously the a place to be. Again, I mean, some people just like to like see the world, explore more, and may not like, that kind of daily like hustle.
Right.
And so then, there are different countries. So in my journey, I've lived in many places. I grew up in Calcutta, which was like amazing in terms of, I would say, art, culture, British influence. And then I worked in Mumbai a lot, which is then again like the pace of it, like, and then the action, which is often like lacking in Calcutta, or at least not similar. And then Singapore is very organized. It's like one of the most like sophisticated and organized country in the world. It's like, if anything is like, if you see something is like marked up or scratched, that is by design, it's said. It's not like by that it is like that. Then I like, worked, I stayed in Dubai as well, which is again, an economy which kind of kicks about above its weight, and like trying to do massive things, and at scale. And then UK is again a very different kind of lifestyle. So I think it's a personal preference. The one thing I would say is that that a lot of young people, I feel that they need to see the world much more. And that is where I feel like, especially with remote work, you have such an amazing opportunity to actually travel the world and work from different places. And I would strongly encourage you to actually like, go to places, maybe work from there for some time, even if it's like a month to whatever. And these days, it's easy to find, decent accommodation and go and settle very fast and get. But seeing the world, seeing culture is really important. And for me, it was an amazing experience when I moved out of India. To really like, experience the world from a very different lens, and then also like, change my perspective of how I looked at India. And that is kind of, very interesting. And I would like really encourage, like, if you had time, like whatever time you have, like try to like, try to travel and try to like get global exposure.
What are your top 3 learnings from working at Meta?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really interesting journey for me, because when I started in Meta, the company was relatively younger, smaller, and it was kind of growing. India was not even like the first market; it was, I think, the fifth, sixth, seventh market, I think, in terms of Meta's user base. But it was obviously growing really fast, and so and by now, like, India is by far like the biggest market for all Meta products. But so again, I mean, seeing that journey from almost like, 0 to 1, and then 1 to 100, 1 to 10, 10 to 100, was the whole journey I saw over 8 years. And literally like, from just being a friend network, to then pictures becoming very stronger, to then video coming in, all of these video formats, and then eventually, like, the friend graph started declining. And if you think of now, it's all interest graph. It's not so much friend based, but it's all interest based. And that's how, like, the whole short form video is. So it's kind of a really good experience, and working across multiple countries. I think the two or three things I would take away, right? One is that the pace of things is just crazy. So I had worked in, global companies like Viacom. I had worked on the tech side of things. And then I'd worked in, so-called very fast-paced or Indian companies too, like Reliance, etc., which are known for their execution or speed of working. But when I went to Meta, it was a very different ball game. It's like just the pace of things was so enormous. It's just crazy. And if there were if you go to any Meta office, there are places for you to, like, sleep overnight, like all the bathrooms have toothbrush and like a lot of things. And I was kind of very surprised to, like, first see it, but then I was like, okay, if they want to roll a product, like, people literally not go home and they will sleep in office for like 5 days. And then they also had laundry service inside the office. So you literally didn't you were taken care of. There was food, there was like everything. But that was kind of the whole passion, because the one thing is, in today's, like, tech companies, speed beats everything. So like, number one thing, if you are building something, or if you're an entrepreneur, I can tell you, like, the number one thing is speed, right? And like, speed to market is literally, there is nothing second, and you don't have to wait. You literally don't wait till you think that you have a perfect product, or there is never a moment which is like perfect. And even in company like Meta, that was my second learning along with speed, is that they launched a lot of products in a very short time, but also in a very, like, beta mode, which was like, a lot of products were literally they didn't have stable infrastructure. They were not like fully rolled out products, etc. But they were so fast to market, is that, hey, like, roll it out, test, iterate, make it better, test, iterate, make it better. And that is, like, the biggest learning we have, is that we keep waiting for perfecting things, or even thinking that, okay, we want to build this whole, like, perfect module and then roll it out. But there the philosophy is very different, is that roll out first, and then iterate, and keep doing things. And at one point, I have, like, a very interesting story, is that live was breaking like crazy. So Twitter had launched live, and it was becoming crazy. There was few live apps which had come, and Meta was kind of wanting to, like, literally dominate live. And so this whole live product was launched, where you could, on your phone, go live, right, through. And it was supposed to be like that, hey, the next post creation would be, like, literally people would be doing live things, and then they would be, like, posting. And so it was like such a hurry in the company to, like, beat everyone, that they launched the live product, and it was really not stable. And the team went and fixed an appointment with President Obama to make him go live. And he clicks, like, on his Facebook page, he clicks, like, the live button, and he goes live, and boom, the infrastructure falls, and then the live crashes, because it was so, like, made overnight almost. And so, and that was like President, like, taking it to President Obama, and I clearly remember, the mess we had. But the whole point is that, I think speed beats everything, and then don't wait for, that whole perfection. I think that's the biggest problem. Obviously, you have to have you have to have empathy for the consumers, for your audience. And I'm not saying that, roll out any substandard product, but don't wait for building too much, because you don't know what the consumer feedback would be. The best is to roll it out, have find friendly consumers to use, take feedback, and then keep building and rolling out thing, and don't wait, because speed is, like, really the thing. And that's what my biggest learning in Metaverse is. They just do things very, very fast. And I think that's the single point thing about success of Meta, is, like, just execute, like, really fast.
Apart from speed and clarity, what would you say is the best way for somebody to get a job at Meta?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long interview process for sure, and it's a really tough one because the for every role there are thousands of CVs which Meta gets, and then only a very handful of people are really like called for interviews. And then even when you're called for interviews, it's like a long like process of 7-8 rounds, and as well as like which goes on for months. And so it's definitely like something I would say is not the easiest thing to crack. And this is standard across, I guess. I mean, Google, Amazon, any other tech company is that you have to have fight through a lot of competition for that one role. And remember, you're also fighting with internal candidates as well, whom the company knows really well. But yeah, I mean, if you're really good at what you're doing, and if you're able to articulate it really well, then you can crack. I mean, there are thousands of people working in those companies, so and those are really nice companies to work for. I mean, they really care for people, and they want to really hire the best, and that's why the whole process. And the one thing is that it's almost like doing your MBA from an Ivy League when you join one of these companies, because you get the smartest people to work with, and you get a lot of different things to work on, just because of the pace of innovation happening in these companies. So yeah, I mean, if you're good at your work, I mean, you surely be able to crack the interview.
Is it advisable or beneficial to go to the US for the masters?
That's a great question. It depends on a few things. I mean, as of this now, the situation of things are really bad. One, there's visa issues. Two, the colleges themselves, are trying to figure out what their future will be. Especially, we've seen like how things are panning out with Harvard and others. The three, it is definitely quite expensive to do like 2-year, 4-year courses. And the fourth one, I think fundamentally the most important one is what will education look like in a world of AI, and whether some of these courses are in the way like today's curriculum and the way they are taught, whether they will even exist in the next 2 to 5 years, and which is I'm not even talking about like long term 10 to 15. I'm just talking about like the next like couple of years only. And so I think it's a really tough question, I would say, and I don't have an answer. The one thing I am seeing is that education is a space which is going to get disrupted massively in the next few years. And so whatever you're deciding right now, it's anyone's bet. Like, it's very hard to like say whether you should choose this versus that. Even things like fields like computer engineering, which is like the hottest field ever, are now like in question, whether how much of AI will actually take those jobs or not. And it's a very scary scenario. The one thing I would say is that going coming back to that thing of exposure, is that going out and doing things, maybe education, working for some time, even traveling, other things, does give you a lot of exposure, and does give you insight into what's happening, and you will be much more knowledgeable and more faster to gain all of what is happening in parts of the world. And I think that may help quite a bit, and also like just your social skills improve quite a bit when you mix with people all across different like cultures and walks of life, than just your friends, your close friend circle. And I just like reflect this in how how inside of Facebook you had like your few friends who were your part of your network, and then every time you had like similar thoughts and you had similar exposures because you grew up together, and then you were also Facebook friends. And so basically there was kind of a bubble effect where you were just within that bubble and everyone was thinking like literally the same and talking the same thing and had the same preferences, but you're kind of not able to break the bubble. And that was like the biggest problem of some of these algorithms. And that's kind of now again in a real world, it's like if you only stay at a certain like place, or if you're only like not exposing yourself to the wider world, then you're basically there is a chance of you being in bubble. Although with now internet and like so much openness, it's much we have a we can get exposed much more even sitting in one place, but in earlier times you would just be in a bubble. And so I would think that that whole bubble effect is something which you have to be very careful of in your life, is to not get like in that circle where you're not getting exposed to different opinions, different like things which you're not like obviously like seeing in your circle.
If you're saying that education is going to be disrupted, what subjects should students focus on right now then?
I wish I had a very clear answer. I mean, look, in the sense that education will be a continuous process of relearning again and again, right? And then skilling yourself. That is going to be what it is going to be. So I'm not saying like that don't choose computer science. If you're interested in computers, like choose it, but then remember that what you learn today, those languages, those models are definitely going to change, and even the way of like coding and doing stuff is going to change. And so I mean you have to like continuously relearn and skill yourself. Creative fields are pretty interesting because those are the fields also which probably will will have innovation, but then people can really have long careers. I would say like is that those days are gone when you could have done something, studied something like one particular field, and then for the next 20 years you could have just like been on the back of it and kept doing it. I think that is the key here, is that continuously you have to like relearn and reskill yourself.
Isn't that
That is a
hard?
mindset. It's a mindset. It's not hard. It's a mindset. And so in today's like day and age, it's continuously like really required to be able to change and be really like open to change. And that is like the key. I think my like single line will be like change is the only constant we are going to have for the next many years. And so I mean you have to like adopt it. There's no scope or chance that you don't.
What's the most important metric you tracked while working at Meta, and why?
I mean, at different points, there are different kind of metrics. I mean, obviously, for a tech platform, how much time a user spends on the platform is really critical, right? Because that kind of defines literally everything, whether, the platform is giving you what you want, whether the content is good or not, whether, Meta is able to run ads and monetize, whether the brands are getting getting their value or not. So obviously, like the very like base metrics are like time spent on the platform, really. But then if you think of more deeply, then there are many other like things to think of, right? It's like, okay, is time spent is a very key thing, but then how much is it meaningful? It's like are you wasting a lot of your time and really not getting the ROI? Sometimes you are on a platform for like you're like scrolling mindlessly, and then you see, oh, 2 hours is gone. Oh my god, I wasted 2 hours. That's the feeling you get, which is not a great feeling for you to have, and not definitely great for the platform. While the platform, okay, it's great that you spend 2 hours, but then at the end of it you thought that those 2 hours were wasted, then it's really really bad. And so then it's like, okay, how much can the platform serve you interesting things which you like and which you felt like okay that there was meaning in spending that time. And then that actually also like rubs off into any advertisements you see or even brands you see, because if ads were like really meaningful to you, then you would not feel that they are ads, right? And that it should be. So for example, if you were looking to buy a new car, for example, and you're spending like you're spending your time on the platform and you see like 5 car ads, right? So you see like different ads of cars or sellers of cars or whatever it is, then at that particular point in time in your life you actually are wanting to buy a car, and so those car ads are actually good for you, or at least they're not as as bad as you would think that okay why I'm seeing ads, because you are actually interested in cars and especially to buy one at that point. And so I think the platforms optimize quite a bit on that philosophy, is that they want to serve you even ads which feel like content. That is like a really important thing, because end of the day, like if you're spending time on the platform, you want to take away something which is interest to you,
Right.
and that interest could be whether it be like okay, I want to buy a car, so I'm seeing these ads, or I'm interested in learning more about cars, and so I'm like seeing creators who do car videos, or I'm trying to like change a few things in my car, and then I'm like looking for accessories or things where to buy from, or like Amazon is serving some ads of here you can buy something which we can ship you quickly. But end of the day, like today you want to buy a car and you're interested in it, and so how can your time spent be meaningful? And I think that is like the whole game here, and the platforms which do that really well, then the consumers stick to it, and that's the metrics, and then that's how the time spent metrics is really important.
At the end of every podcast, I ask my guest what's the best piece of advice they've ever received.
I think the one thing I would think of is that in my career, the one advice I received is that do not be afraid to change paths if if you are interested in something. And I think that has like stood me quite well, because again, I mean like I started being a CA and finance, and then I moved careers, etc. We spoke about all that, and I mean in a normal scenario it would have been very hard to really do that. And so if you ask me like if you are taking any unconventional path or any path which is not like traditional linear for you in given your past, I think you're still fine. Don't worry at all, because you are not going to be able to plan your life even 1 year out, forget like 5-10 years out. And so like just keep doing things which you like, and if that doesn't fall into any like sort of framework which the society puts, or like it doesn't fall into anything which your well-wishers including your family etc tells you, it doesn't matter. As long as it falls into a framework where you want to do this and you really like to do that, and that if you work like 996, which is like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week, which is a lot of debatable topic, but if you really like will work 996 in things which you like, then I think that's the path you should take. And that's the advice I would give, is that don't get restricted to okay because I did this, or because someone society tells me to do this, I'm going to do that. And that I think is really really critical. Yeah,
That's wonderful, Saurabh. It's been fun. Thank you so much.
thank you so much, nice to chat.